Good evening and welcome to April 21st, 2025, Common Council, City of Connersville. It's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by Sharon McQueen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you'd like to remain standing for the invocation, Pastor.
Let's pray. God in heaven, we are grateful for these men and women who are called to serve our town. We're thankful for their service. Help them to be humble servants who put others ahead of themselves. Grant them your wisdom, your discernment, your courage as they make decisions tonight. May they always do what is right, Father. Not what is easy, not what is popular, not what is convenient, but what is right. We thank you for the promise of Easter. You are a God who gives new life. We pray as a community that we will never lose hope, that we will always believe that our best days are still ahead. And I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone this evening. Please remind you to turn your cell phone ringers off. We'll begin with roll call.
Councilman Robb?
Present.
Councilman Gray?
Present.
Councilman Collins?
Present.
Councilwoman McQueen? Present. Councilwoman Barrett?
Present.
Councilman Williams Jr.?
Present.
Councilwoman Phillips?
Present.
Everyone has the minutes from the April 7th, 2025 regular meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to those? If not, I hear a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. We went down to new business. We have pending ordinance 3987. It'd be ordinance number 7047, established funds. Rosemary?
Pending ordinance 3987 is to establish 3 funds for the utility department, Trust Indiana Water, Trust Indiana Wastewater, and Trust Indiana Stormwater.
Any questions for Rosemary? I'll entertain a motion to approve pending ordinance 3987.
So moved.
A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. I have a motion to suspend the rules.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item B, we have resolution 2025.
Doing the final.
I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. Wow, did I get a motion or second?
Yep.
I asked and then roll call. That was brilliant. Okay, we have a motion and a second for third and final. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Item B, we have resolution 2025-19, utility bond proceeds. The Board of Works did this. I talked to Adam. He felt like the Board of Works and the City Council needs to approve this, so you want to explain this, Rosemary?
It's a resolution approving the utilities to use the bond proceeds of the loan that we're going to reimburse expenses that the utilities incur during these projects.
Any questions? Make sense? If not, here a motion to approve resolution 2025-19.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Move on down to item C. This is a fluoride discussion. A, for one, there is no ordinance presented tonight. This is just a discussion, as we said in the last meeting, actually 2 meetings ago. This will be a council discussion. The reason we're discussing it, we've had a lot of people make comment and wanting to discuss this topic. And so that's why we're bringing it to discussion. Again, there's no ordinance. This is a discussion to see the direction the council would like to go on this. Director Jeremy, you out there, sir? I know you have some presentation on this. We'll do a little bit different. This is no public hearing, but I want to give input from the public. So if you want to say something, I'm welcome to that. If we do decide to move on this one way or the other, we will draft an ordinance and then we'll do a public hearing again at that point. But this is just a discussion. So I'm going to see the direction that everyone wants to go, because I have a lot of comments. A lot of people just don't know what's in our water. So we've had a lot of comments lately.
I think it's important I want to clear some things up. It was a misconception. I'm not here to debate fluoride and its possible, benefits to your teeth. It's not what I'm here to do. Like the mayor said, there's been a lot of controversy over fluoride, not only in local municipalities, but at state level as well. So I just wanted to get ahead of the conversation and be transparent with the public. Some that don't know that we use fluoride in our water. And there's probably a group out there that understands that we do. And then there's probably a group out there that doesn't quite understand why. And it doesn't treat the water. And as a municipality that, we monitor what we use in the treatment of water. This serves our community. And I think it's important to continue to monitor the quality of the water. And to always be up to date on any changes and treatments to ensure we provide the best water quality to our customers. So in doing that, that's why I want to just bring a light to everybody so they can understand fluoride, its use, and its possible negative side effects. So I'm just going to read from what I have typed so that way we don't spend too much time and I don't get off on one way direction or the other. So fluoridation of the water supply poses, let me back up. This is from a recent case that was over 7 years from the Fluoride Action Network versus the EPA. That court ruling was in the favor of Fluoride Action Network. They won against the EPA that there needs to be an assessment to the regulations of fluoride in water. The court actually ruled to the EPA to reassess the regulations of fluoridation of the water. So that is the issue. Fluoridation of the water supply poses an unreasonable risk to human health in the form of neurotoxicity, which is the effects of the brain. That was from the lead attorney on the Fluoride Action Network, Michael Conant. Since 2001, we have been using fluoride in the water for an after-treatment result of 0.7 parts per million. So what the EPA standard is, that's what we keep it at. That's where we always test at. The decision to fluoridate the water supply is made by state or local municipality and is not mandated by the EPA or any other federal entity. With so much controversy around the neurotoxic chemical that does nothing for the treatment of water, I think it's important that people come to their own decision if it is an unreasonable risk for them and their family. The facts of the case, the EPA, CDC, FDA, and all the manufacturers were asked the same question. Can you point to the safety data that will allow us to know where the safe level turns into toxic level? What is that level? Not a single organization could answer that. Even under oath, the answer was, we don't know, that's not the information we have. So how do we know if fluoridation is safe if we don't have a safe level? Not in dispute from either parties of the aisle. Were studies funded by National Institute of Health used in this case? Everyone agreed, upon including the CDC experts, that said these were high quality studies. The EPA had every reason to make an argument to the judge that these were not high quality studies, but everyone agreed that they were. Everyone agreed that the NTP, the National Toxicology Program's systemic review, was a high quality review. There was no dispute in that. The primary conclusion is they have moderate confidence that fluoride is consistently associated with the reduction of IQ at 1.5 parts per million and above. Primarily, that's the primary conclusion of the NTP. The EPA scientist, Dr. Stanley Barone, he's EPA main risk assessment expert at the office that oversees the Toxic Substance Control Act. There should be at least a margin of 10 between the level associated with the neurotoxicity and the exposure level, a measure of 10. So a margin of 10 would take the level from 1.5 to 0.15, below the level that we add in our drinking water. So tons of research proves that people respond differently to different levels of toxic substance. What may be an appropriate level for you may not be for the next person. There's plenty of information out there that shows that to be true. What did the court find? A potential risk? No, the court found that there is an unreasonable risk at 0.7 parts per million. Fluoridation poses an unreasonable risk of reduced IQ in children, and that the court's conclusion, not that there is a potential for risk, but that there is a risk. As experts make very clear that you absolutely do not need certainty of harm to find a risk. In all of the EPA's risk evaluations, the EPA never had certainty of harm at the exposure level to find risk. The EPA looks at whether human exposure levels are too close to the hazard level. They don't look to see if human exposure levels are hazardous, it's whether they are too close. Using that, the court concluded that the level we add to drinking water are far too close to the levels that we know to cause neurotoxic effect. So the court found water fluoridation poses an unreasonable risk and ordered the EPA to take regulatory action to address and eliminate this risk. It's important that everybody understands that the court does not have the authority to tell the EPA to ban fluoride. It's just, that's not their legal authority that they have. So they didn't tell the EPA to ban fluoride. The endings, so just to end this, it's the predominant use is topical. People on both sides of the aisle agree with that. Its best effect is topical, to be used on the teeth. We now know that it's topical contact with the teeth, it's topical contact, not systemically. So ingesting it, putting it in the water. We have a lot of other areas where we can find fluoride naturally in foods. It's a natural occurring mineral. So you can find it in foods, water, bottled water. There's your toothpaste, mouthwash, the gels that you find with the strips on your teeth all have an excess of fluoride in them. So the CDC does not dispute and agreed under oath its predominant benefit is topical and agreed that there is absolutely no benefit from utero exposure. That's prenatal, from the womb. Mothers drinking fluoridated water while pregnant. No benefit in the first 6 months of life during infancy. Everyone agreed on that. The period of life in the womb, early infancy, that's where you have the greatest vulnerability. Is it appropriate to deliver this chemical to everyone's water, mothers who are pregnant, bottle feeding with fluoridated tap water, when some baby formula has a level of fluoride already at 0.2 to 0.3? You had 0.7 reconstituting that formula, you're at now 0.8, 9, 1.0, and could be up higher. So you're reaching that level of 1.5 that they deem as starting to lower IQ. Once you do that, you know, the level set by the NIH is 0.01 for 6 months old and younger. So 0.01 for a child, and you're already at 0.7 in the water reconstituting your baby formula, and you're almost at 1 milligram. That's way more than the limit that was set for a child that age. So America is the most fluoridated nation on earth. 98% of Europe doesn't have fluoride. Not a single community in Japan fluoridates their water. They have abundance of fluoride in their dental products, toothpaste, mouthwash, floss, etc., provide topical use. No one has ever banned the topical use, but are continuing to ban the unnecessary risk of adding it to water. It shouldn't be the decision of local government or state determines if we add fluoride to the water solely for the purpose of fighting cavities. That decision and responsibility is done in the home by the parents. The utility's job is to treat the water for safe consumption. Fluoride does not treat water. What may be safe levels for one person isn't true for another. Multiple studies prove that tolerance levels to toxic substance show that there is not a one dose fits all. There is the packet that you guys all have that can be easily found online. Again, I want to make sure that everybody's clear. I'm not here to debate anybody about the effects of fluoride as its topical use. Most people use fluoridated toothpaste, mouthwash, and I think there's a plethora of studies out there that point that that's probably a good thing for your teeth and protects it. However, they started this in the 1940s, and they all believed at that time that ingesting it was the best use for fluoride. Over time, 85 years, 75, 85 years, we have made strong advancement in technology and in medicine that there's now a plethora of studies that shows maybe they weren't right about ingesting fluoride. So I think it's important that people do their own research, look at it for yourselves. I'm not here to tell you one way or the other, just that everybody should look at it for themselves and understand that we add it to the water. And now it can be decided amongst the board, the city council, and the public if it's something we should continue to do, or if everybody agrees with the court's decision that it's an unreasonable risk. I leave that for council, the public, and anyone else who hears that to make that decision. It's not my decision to make for everybody else, but I think it's to shed a light is what I'm wanting to do. What I do in my personal, if I use it or don't use it, drink it, don't drink it, it's not relevant. I'm not putting my own decisions in here. I just want people to understand that there is a risk. They've found it in several studies, and to look at the other studies. They found it to be, useful for your teeth to fight cavities. So everybody should make their own conclusion on if fluoride should still be used in the public water system. To clear up the paper, I'm not opposed to it because of the cost. The cost is relatively low in the grand scheme of things. So I want to clear that up as well. The main thing is for health, children's health. Everybody should understand that there's now risk involved with the ingestion of fluoride. And that's what I think everybody needs to focus on.
Anybody got any questions? I mean, that was a large overview.
Yeah. Nothing? Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Even though this is not a public comment, I want to open it up to the public for comment, because I want to hear what everyone's got to say before we decide any action, if we take any. Yes, sir. State your name and address if you don't mind, please.
Okay, I'm John Roberts. I'm a local dentist for 43 years. This is my hometown. I was moved to come back to Connersville mainly because it was not fluoridated. And that really upset me when I thought all the needless decay that was pretty rampant. And I have done Head Start exams since maybe a year or two after starting my practice. And out of a group of, say, 40 kids at that time, pre-fluoridation, there might have been 4 that did not have decay. We eventually got fluoridation, continued to do the Head Start exams. Same number of kids, roughly 40. There might be 4 who did have decay. So complete reversal. And it wasn't because they were brushing better or drinking less soda or eating less candy. It was the fluoride. Even if you use toothpaste, mouthwash, your hygiene's excellent, it can still reduce decay by 25%. Which, that's a lot. I mean, that's pretty substantial. The studies, or study that's been quoted here is heavily flawed. It was done in India and China, which has an incredible amount of fluoride in their water. Also, in that so-called study, no other factors were considered. Not economics, not nutrition, nothing. They were just saying, oh, they've got high fluoride, their IQs are a little bit lower. Well, maybe they didn't have any other advantages. So it was a terrible study. This court that's being quoted is one judge in California who took it upon himself to, didn't really give the EPA a direction, just said they should look into it, which that's fine. It's been looked into for decades. It's been proven safe and effective. It's not just topical, but that is a bonus for older people who get root exposure. It'll help prevent decay there, but it does help in the development of teeth, taken internally. So it's a double whammy. If you don't want fluoride in your water, you can buy a filter or rent one locally, but over 85% of people want it. So why punish the majority by taking it out? You're not going to get it in bottled water unless you specifically can find some because it's filtered, so it's not in there. I'm trying to keep this short because I know there's other people here. But you know, if they were to be removed, we're going to go right back to kids that suffer. They're going to go to the emergency room. Big cost there, $300 or so, be told to go see a dentist. There's no pediatric dentist here. And I used to go to the hospital to treat them. I'm not doing that anymore, and I don't even know if I could. We don't have a hospital. So consider what you're about to hopefully not do. Keep the fluoride. It's been proven for decades to be safe, effective. It's not going to be this huge amount that's found in other countries where it's not controlled. I could say a lot more, but I'm going to end it there. Thank you for your time. Obviously, it's very near and dear to me, as it should be everyone. So consider the source of this information. There's a lot of anti-fluoride groups out there that can twist words and promote their agenda for whatever reason. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Kathleen, sorry.
You're fine.
I'm Dr. Jill Burns. I actually practice in Richmond, Indiana, and I'm a former president of the Indiana Dental Association. And I've been working with John. John and I have been friends since dental school. And when I was hearing about this decision, or thinking about making an ordinance, I was very concerned. Because he and I have actually talked about that very thing, where he started, it wasn't fluoridated, and then when it was fluoridated, things turned around. I have seen that in my practice. I actually was a Navy dentist stationed in the Philippines with no fluoride, and those children had infections. I mean, it was horrible. I can't tell you, I mean, you think, oh, well, they can have a cavity, they can get it filled. But what we're talking about is cavities that turn into infections. And your teeth are close to your brain. And actually, when I was in the Navy, there was a child who had a brain abscess from a tooth abscess. And if we can stop that early with fluoride, that's what we want to do. The one, again, the study that was cited was overseas. The percentage of fluoride was more than twice what you guys have now, which is 0.7, I believe. In fact, the studies showed no correlation to a lower IQ at the fluoride levels that are here. So that's something in the study that wasn't quoted. Actually, with the 0.7, there was no reduction in IQ. And again, John said that nothing else was looked at, nutrition, nothing like that. A lot of studies of drinking water have been done, and they've been rigorously challenged scientifically over the years, and it has been proven that fluoride is safe for the general population. And it's actually one of the public health successes that has been happening over the last, 80 years, that we've been able to reduce decay as much as we have. Dentistry is one of the only professions, we're trying to get ourselves out of business. And, but we're doing that by trying to decrease the dental disease. Fluoride is one of our best weapons, and I'm just asking that if you do decide on looking at an ordinance, I want you to not deprive your citizens of this very valuable benefit to their general health. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I'm Doug Bush. I'm Executive Director of the Indiana Dental Association, so I work for the people seated behind me here. And as I recall, I've been with IDA for 29 years. I think this is the same room I was at about 26 years ago in that chair where you were debating adding fluoride to the water, and I was here for that, so it's kind of interesting, full circle on the other end of my career, that the discussion is back again. There's a lot I can say. I don't want to get into repeating what you've already heard. I think maybe a bit of history on fluoride might be helpful to you. It's a natural occurring element. There's some parts of the country, even some small parts of Indiana, where naturally in the water supply there's the optimum amount of fluoride. There are even a few communities where there's too much fluoride, and in that case they recommend defluoridization. You take some of the fluoride out of the water to get it at the optimum level. And the history on it is that the therapeutic effect or the benefits of fluoride was discovered in a little town outside of Colorado Springs, Colorado, when dentists were brought in to see if they could determine why the kids had brown stains on their teeth. It was referred to as Colorado brown stain. But the interesting thing, even though the teeth were discolored, those kids had remarkable strong teeth. Cavities almost did not exist in the community. And it took them years to figure out that they had, all from a common water supply, a concentration of fluoride that was too hard. It led to what's referred to fluorosis. Yeah, it's stains that occur on the teeth whenever there's too much fluoride. Years later, they were able to determine that it was fluoride that was causing it, and then they began looking at that sweet spot where you got the optimum benefits of fluoride, but you didn't have the detrimental effect of the stains. And as has been pointed out, fluoride can be poisonous if taken in too high of a concentrations and amounts, but what is not? I mean, you chlorinate your water. Too much chlorine is toxic. We put iodine in our salt. Too much iodine is toxic. We put vitamin D in our milk. Too much vitamin D can be toxic. They even put childproof caps on your one-a-day vitamins because everybody realizes what's in that bottle is beneficial, but too much of it can be dangerous. And that exactly is the point with fluoridation, that finding the optimum level is where the benefit is. The hearing from the California judge that you've heard so much about, it was based on a single test that was done, an evaluation study that was done at levels of twice what the recommended level of fluoride is in the United States. So how valid is that? Mention was made that in Europe they don't fluoridate their water. They don't, but many of the countries fluoridate their salt, like we do with iodine. They still receive fluoride, they just receive it through a different vehicle. Instead of the water, it's through the salt intake. So there's a lot more that can be said about that. I brought some materials that I'll leave with you if that's okay. Google it and you will find all kinds of materials, some pro-fluoride, some anti-fluoride. The two that I brought you, one is an editorial just that appeared in the New York Times a couple of weeks ago, based on the resurgence of the debate with RFK Jr. and the capacity that he's in, and he's been on record as being against community water fluoridation. So I'll leave that with you. But I think the more important document, it's a few pages long. It's a fluoridation fast facts. This came off of the website of the CDC, and it lists about a dozen benefits or facts about fluoride that I think would be helpful to you. But stapled to that, I included a letter that was mailed just last week to the U.S. House of Representatives and the senators. And it was from, the original author was the American College of Pediatric Dentists, so the dentists that take care of the young children. And the more important part of it is not what is said in the letter. They make the case for the benefits of fluoride. But attached to it are the people who co-signed the letter from the American Academy of Pediatric Dentists. There's over 220 national and state health organizations, including the Indiana Dental Association, the Indiana Coalition for Public Health, that are talking about the fact that they endorse the concept of community water fluoridation. So there's nothing radical about it. What is more difficult to find is health, either medical professionals or organizations or dental organizations that at all dispute the therapeutic benefits of fluoride. So those are the two documents that I'll leave with you, and certainly I'm available, and any of a number of members of the Indiana Dental Association are available if we can offer additional help. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Come on, sir.
Good evening, Council. I'm Dr. Tom Christie, resident dentist here in Connersville since 1997. And like my friend Doug back here, I was here at this meeting in 1998 advocating to have fluoride put into the water. And the reason I did that was because, similar to Dr. Roberts here, I saw rampant decay in our underprivileged young community. We're talking about kids age 3 to age 12, the kids that we see at Head Start exam. I took over a practice of a retiring dentist. I don't know if you remember him, Dr. Dan Weaver. I took over his building, and I had a very large population of the underserved members of our community, meaning the people who are now on Medicaid, on HIP, HIP Plus, and CareSource healthcare plans. And what I saw when I came to town, I already knew that we were the largest municipality in the state of Indiana that did not have fluoride in the water. That's why everybody from IU kept rushing to Connersville to do all of their studies on what communities that didn't have fluoride were all about. And what I saw, and all I can share with you is my expert testimony of what I actually saw in the dental chair when I came to town. I saw a large percentage of the Medicare, Medicaid patients, and what I saw was a lot of rampant decay, similar to what Dr. Burns was talking about. A lot of severely decayed teeth, a lot of infections, a lot of kids that had to be referred to specialists so that they could be sedated in a hospital and have their mouths worked on. After fluoride, I couldn't tell you about 2 cases I've seen in the last 5 years, when I was seeing 2 to 3 cases a week in my dental practice. So if you think that your actions have consequences, just think about what's going to happen all over again. We've already lived this nightmare. Let's not live it again. I'm going to be retiring in 5 years. What y'all do is fine with me. I will deal with the consequences. I will continue to see the underprivileged in this community. But I can tell you that when I see them and they're severe and I have to refer them, I can tell you there's nobody to see them. We do not have an abundance of specialists that are willing to take Medicaid patients in its current format right now. Because as we know, Medicaid is on a fee schedule that has not kept up with inflation over the last 25 years. When I came to town in 1997, Medicaid was probably reimbursing, compared to my own fee schedule, 60 to 70 cents on the dollar. I can tell you they have not raised their reimbursement in 27 years. It is now 30 cents on the dollar. Stands to reason that doctors don't want to see these patients anymore. I've always held in my own belief that I wanted to take care of the underprivileged kids in our community. And Dr. Laura feels the same. But we just can't do it. I can't have a whole day full or a whole week full of Medicaid patients. I'll flag them out of business. My overhead is twice what they're paying me to fix them. So your unintended consequences of potentially removing it from our fluoride system is you're going to see a rapid rise in the cost of Medicaid expenses billed to the hospital because they're going to the emergency room for the reasons Dr. Burns just said. Now, I hope that you take this into consideration, that if it is passed that we remove fluoride, this decay rate is going to go up 200% in that population. Now, it's up to you. I'm happy to discuss it at length. Obviously, I feel very passionate about this because I was the one advocating for it 25 years ago at the beginning of my career here in Connersville. So please excuse me for being a little emotional about it, but I didn't expect this to happen, but now that it's happened, I hope you realize how strongly I believe that we need to take care of the kids, especially the ones that are the most underprivileged in our community and don't have access to care anymore. They just don't. And that's the end of the story right there. So if you, okay, so that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Come on up.
Thank you for listening to the other side of the fluoride story. My name is Laura Boggs, and I was a teacher in Fayette County Schools for almost 30 years. And I too was at that meeting where fluoride was voted in to our community. But as a teacher, I will tell you, I taught in the Head Start program at Frazee. Our school system was one of the few in this state that sponsored a Head Start program, allowed them into their buildings, gave them the same opportunities of it as every other student in Fayette County. Preschool kids, especially those that come from poverty, are our youngest and our most vulnerable community members. If we don't do what's right for them, they do suffer. They absolutely do. And as a teacher at that time, I had children in my room. I would say on an average we had at least one every 2 weeks that had a toothache, a severe toothache, and we would have to deal with that. And what we wanted to do with those children was give them every opportunity to learn. So we wanted them to be medically ready to learn. We wanted them to be academically ready to learn. And we wanted them to be healthy and ready to learn. And dealing with the toothache, and we were fortunate that we did have wonderful dentists in our community that cared about that section of our young citizens, that we could call them up and they would make appointments to see our kids. But we dealt with that monthly as far as children who had severe cavities and toothaches. And if anybody here's had a toothache, I don't think there's too much worse than dealing with that toothache. Within, I would say, 6 to 12 months of fluoridating our water, we rarely dealt with tooth problems. Hardly ever did we have any children that would come and say, my tooth hurts, or that would interfere with their learning day. That was my experience all through my career at Frazee. And when I do say dealing with toothaches, young children, again, they experience pain a little bit differently than us older people. But it was very painful for them. It was hard to watch, knowing that I could do nothing to help them other than call a dentist and ask if they would see them. But again, the turnaround was so quickly. Once that water was fluoridated, we rarely dealt with that problem again. So I would just encourage you to read everything you can, pro and con, on that issue. And when you get ready to vote, think of those young children, especially those from poverty that can't speak for themselves. They do need adults as advocates for them. We do want to give them every opportunity to learn as well. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anyone else? No? I'll open up for council next.
I was in that room in 1998. I was here in that room in 1998. And I worked for a dentist at that time too. Well, I had worked for a dentist, let's put it that way, I had. And I still need to research and whatever, because what you're saying, I have no doubt is true, because I was in that profession at the time. And we were the largest entity in the state that was not fluoridated. So I appreciate you guys coming back to reiterate your feelings on that. When we had talked about this, I didn't have a chance to do that, but I did want to talk to a dentist or dentist to see what their position was, because you're the ones that deal with it. The studies and whatever are good, but you can, and I'm not saying any of these studies are guided one way or the other, but to talk to the people that have actually experienced it is telling. And I'm interested, it's kind of interesting to see that we don't have anybody here that I don't have, and maybe we will, maybe this will bring the awareness from the other side. So, my mind's not completely made up, but I still tend to, I remember what happened in 98. And I was, like I said, I was on council at that time too. I was in the room with you, so. May not have been a good thing to admit that, but I was.
Yeah, I'm dating myself because I was lucky enough to have parents that would give us fluoride treatments, and I remember sitting in the chair going with Dr. Reichley. And Big John was all I could see was these hairy arms and doing his deal on me as far as that cover goes. But then we moved away from Connersville, and we were lucky enough to live in some suburbs of Chicago and stuff, and they already had taken up the program and stuff, and there was a difference. And there was a difference there made. But you also didn't have all the toothpaste and everything else that you guys mentioned available that you do have now as far as that part of it goes. I still think it's something that needs to be in the system as far as that part of it goes. If it helps out the group that you all have spoken about, because I think that's one of the, it's going to help everybody, but it's the group that we have that section in this town that needs that anyway. So anyway, for what it's worth.
Well, not to speak again or monopolize it, but I do remember, and Medicaid has changed a lot, because I remember when I was working in the dentist's office, every Medicaid child got fluoride treatments. I mean, they got fluoride treatments every time. My daughter didn't, but they did. And it has completely reversed itself as far as what Medicaid pays for and what they didn't, what they don't, so.
I'm a firm believer that if it's not broken, then leave it alone. So that's all I have to say about that.
I'll be one of the minor at the moment anyway. I believe in personal responsibility. I believe that it is on the parents to dictate what the child does. I also believe that in recent years with COVID, I don't believe I need the government to tell me what to take. Because of that, I do not believe that it is in the best interest of government to be telling people what their child should be doing. Advice is one thing, but to mass medicate children and the population in general is wrong. And government is too big, and I will vote against it.
Speak now, forever hold your peace. Again, this was brought to my attention because I've had a lot of comments on it. So
It was a very
I want
volatile
to,
issue.
that's why we want to know direction council wants to go. And if they want to pursue a public hearing, we can pursue a public hearing. If you don't want to do that, then we don't have to do that.
I can wait till the end, but unless somebody wants to say something else, I would make a motion that we consider voting on this.
No, I'm sorry.
Make a motion to vote on it.
To move on an ordinance?
No,
Oh.
in the
Okay.
future.
I need to do more research. I need more research.
And that's one point.
I'm gonna do more research.
We gave you the information so you can do your own
Right,
research.
right.
Yeah.
That was the whole
I'm gonna
point.
do more.
So no action needed
No,
tonight?
no.
No action.
No.
No.
We just need a direction. Yes, ma'am.
I know it's open to council.
I'm opening up to anybody right now.
Step up or?
Yes.
Step up, please.
I'm Laura Marshalik. I'm a Connersville resident, lifelong resident in the dentist here in Connersville for 23 years now. And I think that discussion is great. I love to hear that we will do research. I would just advocate that when we do research, we're doing it with foundations and groups that have a scientific base, that have a base that is based on research, more than one research article, more than two, and that's for the general public as well. I think it's easy to, misinformation happens, it happens more frequently now with social media. We are held to a higher standard when we do dentistry, and I think it's on the public to be held to a higher standard. If you have an opinion on something, it needs to be based in more than just a Facebook post, for example. So that was my next comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Quiet bunch.
I guess my question, because I know the population that we have. I'm a teacher here in town. So I know who we have are you not seeing, like, are you not seeing them come into the dentist at all? Like, are kids getting dental care at all at a young age? Are you seeing less, or are they just not getting the dental care that they need at all?
Go ahead, you sit right there.
You sit there.
I continue to see Medicaid children and emergency adults. I lose, as Tom said, money every time I see them, but that's what we all take on. So we're still seeing the kids, but there are some that we just can't safely treat in the office. Too young to cooperate. So that's where the specialist comes in, or a hospital setting, or both. And we don't have that option. So the best thing is to prevent it. That's much better than treatment, if you can eventually get treatment.
Right.
So, no, I'm still seeing kids, I think everybody else is.
Yes, we are seeing our children come in. They are receiving dental care. It is just at a remarkably different level of decay than it was.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Still at
I
a
mean-
lower level of decay than what it was 23 years ago.
Much.
I have the advantage of only having been here when it was fluoridated, but I was in dental school when it was the first argument was happening. And I was a really famous person because I was from the town where the fight was happening. So there was a lot of discussion, and so I felt very thankful that for the past 23 years it's been here.
Well, I'm just kind of going with, Jabin makes a comment about, parents' responsibility, and I think that parents should be responsible for their kids, but I know that they're not always.
Well, even
So-
if they are, they can still get
Are-
decay. You
Right.
can take that away from everybody,
Right.
and so can the older people.
So, because we have a dental program that comes to our town, or comes to our school, that sees the kids. And like, I didn't have any kids sign up. Like, I rarely have kids sign up to see, and and I don't have a lot of students that come to school and be like, oh, I went to the dentist today. And so I'm just wondering, like, are parents getting their kids to the dentist at a young enough age to prevent the major problems? Like, is that happening in town, or is it not happening in town?
There's always a percentage that doesn't go to the dentist except for emergencies.
Okay.
Might get a little off topic, if you're talking about the mobile vans, unless they're from the dental school, I really wish they wouldn't come here, because they just cherry pick. They take films, they do an exam, they don't do any treatment.
Yeah.
Then they're told to go see a dentist.
Yeah.
Well, we still have to do the exam and take films, which have already been
Do
done,
everything over again.
Yeah.
which you don't get paid for, which that's secondary, but it's just such a waste of time. And more importantly, the parents think, oh, yeah, they were seen. Kids are fine. No, they're not. They have no treated disease. So obviously I'm anti-mobile dentistry from Michigan or wherever they come from.
When they do that, do the films and whatever, the x-rays and whatever, do they go
By
with
law,
the
they're
children?
by law, they're supposed to give them to us, good luck getting them.
It's not easy.
And if you do get them, it's probably a copy
Yeah, I didn't
that's not
think
even
that.
diagnostic.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. Now, don't confuse them with IU school dentistry.
Right,
That's totally different.
right.
It's the Medicaid cherry pickers from Michigan that I could do without.
Yeah, so what good, in other words, you're saying what good are the x-rays that they're doing when you don't have
Well, they're not
access?
doing any treatment.
Right, right.
Okay, they can point out, yeah, needs treatment. Bye.
And to speak, in Richmond, I mean, I don't practice here in Connersville, but I see tons and tons of kids. And, I have people bringing them in, from age 1 on out. And I'm not a pediatric dentist, but I do tons of kids, because I'm a mom, But, I think, it's always what John said. It's, some people are gonna bring their kids, some people are not. We're trying to help everybody.
Does the fluoride treatment somewhat, I don't want to say a moot point, but with all the stuff that kids drink today, besides water?
Well, I tell you in my practice that I drum about soda and even sports drinks. And my parents do a really good job of taking those away from the kids. So yes, that's parental choice and very, very helpful. But that's nutrition counseling.
Right.
I'm sure these guys do that too.
I'm just curious as far as. I appreciate all your comments.
I do appreciate you coming out. And from your standpoint, the comment I get the most is everyone understands fluoride is good for your teeth. There's a question about is it worth ingesting versus a topical treatment? That's where the question really lies. That's the only topic I get from people, is this something we should be ingesting, where we can get it topically? That is the issue that comes to my desk every single day, so. And that's the question we're asking. Is it safe to ingest? Is it not safe to ingest versus topical? It's not that it's good or bad, because I think it's got benefits. It does for your teeth, no question about it.
I don't know of anything that's been more thoroughly researched. I mean, back from the early days where it was a communist plot and it would burn your lawn and kill your goldfish, it had to prove it was safe. And it has been proven time and time and time again. And you still get this one flawed study and one judge. Well, RFP Junior, just on and on. And so it's a perfect storm. And that's why it's come up again with revisions.
I understand that.
It'll never go away. I get that.
In their defense, there's more than one study. There's a lot of new studies that's come out, so
But this is the big driver.
I don't disagree with that. I'm not here to argue that.
No, I'm not
That's
arguing
my
either.
point.
That's my take on it, that just really opens the floodgates.
I get that. I gotta be really good, because the guy pulled my teeth right over here, and he can make it hurt really bad if he wants to, but I'm just teasing.
We're not the bad
No, I'm not, and please don't take it that way. That is not the goal. It is open for discussion.
If I could
I do.
quickly answer your question about systemic fluoride versus topical fluoride. Systemic fluoride has been repeatedly proven to be taken up into the mineralization process of a tooth bud that's developing underneath the gums. The teeth that are growing absorb the fluoride directly into the tooth enamel, changing the crystalline complex from hydroxyapatite to fluorapatite, which is a tighter, denser crystalline structure, making the tooth harder, resistant to decay. Once the tooth erupts, the topical only works on the surface. It's not throughout the tooth. So think of a tooth bud growing in a young kid's head, and the entire tooth is recrystallizing into fluorapatite, which is the name of the molecule that's formed. Correct me if I'm wrong, John.
No.
I'm pulling from
I'm waiting for you to get into micronegativity.
pediatric class from 35 years ago. This is a stretch for me, but that's the basic issue of the difference between systemic fluoride and topical fluoride. Topical fluorides only act on the surface, and they can be washed off if the kid runs out and has a hamburger immediately after I put it on their teeth. When it's absorbed into the tooth, as the teeth are developing, the entire tooth has the fluorapatite crystalline structure in it. I can tell you, I grew up in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, and we had fluoride all the way back into the 60s. I have one cavity about the size of a pea in my mouth, and I'm 62 years old. I have strong teeth.
Well, your
And
dentist
I'm
be
not-
better.
and I'm not neurologically sorry. Most people.
So, let me ask you a question, because some of you were here when I was in, well, that sounded really bad, but when I was in elementary school, I'm dating myself now. When we were in elementary school, how's that? You're the same age as me. We did a program where the dentist came through every month, I believe. And we had dental checkups, and they gave us fluoride toothpaste to use. And that started in the...
Before your time.
In the 80s, sorry.
Before your time.
I remember
So,
third, fourth
what
grade,
effect
yeah.
did that have today, based on, I understand, when you saw a drastic difference when the fluoride was put in the water. Did that also contribute to that drastic difference, having 10 years of good dental hygiene, starting us in elementary school? I don't remember how long they did that. Do you remember when, did they do it when you were in elementary school?
Yes, I remember definitely fourth grade. And possibly even going back to third grade, and it was every year.
It was
Were
for
they still
several
doing it
years.
out
That's
there
why
when
they,
you were
that's
Was you
why
part
they
of
did it
that?
here.
They did that when I was in fourth grade, and I'm 70.
Okay.
It was back before that, it was back before
Ours,
that.
education's good, and everything's good. But it doesn't replace it, not by.
I'm, right, I get
But
that,
you're
I was just
asking
asking,
if
I'm
you-
asking if that
The addition is
contributed.
awesome.
Yeah,
Because
more
that's
addition
when
is-
fluoride was introduced to us, was in when I was in elementary school.
Yeah.
I do know that.
Okay.
Because there was the topic then was, they kept saying, don't swallow this. And I was like, okay, well, and I thought it was good for my
You'd be sick
breath.
to your stomach.
But they said, don't swallow it. But my question is, so if they're putting the fluoride in the toothpaste, and you swallow that, we all do, and then you're drinking the water, is that putting you above the neurotoxicity level? And I understand it's still good for your teeth, what are we doing to our neurological side of that? Is there a risk in that? If it's so, what's that level? Are we treating it too much? I'm asking a question just because I want to understand.
Well, it depends on how much toothpaste you eat, which.
Tell a kid that,
But you can't drink enough fluoridated water
You have trouble getting
to
kids.
die from the fluoride. The water, it's not physically possible, but if you could do that, the water would kill you before the fluoride.
I get that, but what point is the neurotoxicity level bad for the neuroscience side of things? I understand for the teeth it's good, but we're putting a lot of stuff into our water. At what point are we putting, we're putting the right amount in the water, below the limits, or at the limits. But that's it for the day. If you do something else, is that putting you above the limits, and what is that doing to the neuroscience side of things?
No, you still need to brush the teeth, use fluoride rinse, whatever you do, it's just not gonna accumulate.
I think we'd see a lot more of it, because there are a lot of people who they're overly cautious. And I think the only time we ever see it is when a kid eats a whole tube of toothpaste, and they have to go to ER. But that's the only time we ever really
No,
hear
no,
about
it's,
toxicity.
I'm talking systemic, over time. How long does it take? If you can take arsenic every day, it'll kill you. But if you start building it up, then you develop symptoms over time that's going to cause impact. And that's my question I'm asking is, if we're taking, and the recommended level is now kind of, no one knows right now, because the EPA and CDC all said, we don't know what it is. They won't commit to that. At what point do we see long-term effects that take years to develop? I mean, we've been putting water in, what year did we put the water in? Mr. Christie, I don't remember what year it was. 98,
But
so.
we were one of the last.
I understand, so I've been
Yes, so-
drinking fluoridated water since high school almost.
You'd have to have a demonstrable population of kids that grew up in fluoride that have
Correct.
proven neurological
Yes,
damage.
and that's my.
And-
That's what I'm asking.
and
Well, you don't
there is
have,
none.
if you live out in the county, you don't get any
You don't.
fluoride in your water. I mean, I grew up on well water.
Yeah. Welcome to the dental chair. I'll be working on it.
You already have, so.
I'm just
It's also
asking a question for
generic.
understanding, because
Genetics.
to me, if there's a baseline level, which, and I can't do the parts for money, and Mr. Wilson out there, he understands the math because he's utilities director. If that's a baseline level, and then we do something else, whether you drink, eat food, or brush your teeth or whatever with more fluoride in it, is it taking you above that level, causing, it takes several years of effects. That's my question. What long-term effect does it have? I get it's great for the teeth, and there's no question about that, I'm not arguing that whatsoever. But is it causing other effects? And that's what, I don't think there's enough research personally out there that shows that. But I don't know the answer to that.
That'd be difficult research to do. You'd have to follow somebody for decades and write down everything they ingested and measuring.
I understand that.
And then say, yeah, I think I'm seeing an effect here.
But I used to own a chemical company, and the chemical salesman, when they first come up with glyphosate, would take a shot glass, and they said how safe it was, and they all took a shot of it. Because it was safe. They all died of stomach cancer. Several years later, not instantly, but several years later.
Well, I say that's a stupid
So,
thing to do.
oh, well, I agree with that, but they were trying to show it was safe, but it was a chemical. And fluoride is still a chemical. Yes, it's a natural substance, but it's also a neurotoxin chemical. So that's my question is, how safe is it? Do we know what those levels are? And what kind of long-term effects we're creating?
We'll look for research.
Absolutely.
It's like Doug said, any of the chemicals or the things that are found, like iodine and chlorine, all of those things, you could do the same thing with that.
I
right?
agree.
There will be no research that, I think anecdotally, if you can look at the United States and think about how long fluoride has been in all of those cities and communities and there isn't a rash of a new breakout. And we would have heard about it if there was, because if someone sneezes in California, we manage to find the reason why and see if it's gonna affect us. Like, that has to be a more unbiased, broad view versus I want an answer. If I brush my teeth today and I drink fluoride water tomorrow, what is my level? Well, the safety of the ADA and the NIH and the CDC have been looking at this long before we ever thought of it. You know, I mean, I think you have to trust some of the science that's been going on for decades in these areas. And the information is out there. It's not a conspiracy theory, you know, I mean, it is based in science.
And Mr. Collins, to your point, the difference between the way fluoride has been studied and then introduced to the public versus the vaccine issue, they're totally different circumstances. You know, one was rushed through in months, the other was studied for years before the determination was made. But the vaccine issue, no doubt, lit a fire under the fluoride issue, because people considered them the same. They're both the government telling me that I have to do something. And I think all of us kind of, you know, backlash to that. Nobody likes the idea of that. But the idea that it has been studied, that it is a health benefit that's been thoroughly researched for decades. Big contrast between that and the vaccine debate.
Okay, anybody else? Comments? We will talk to council and then we will make a decision which way they want to go. And like I said, if they want to have a public hearing, we'll hold a public hearing and go from there. So I do appreciate each and every one of you coming out. I appreciate your input. I value it greatly. I like to hear both sides of the issue before we do anything. So I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, does anyone have any old business? Miscellaneous business?
The Art Association has Coleman Gibbs exhibit right now till the end of the month, 1st of May. It's really good, so if y'all get a chance to go see it.
My nephew.
Coleman's your nephew? He's amazing.
Yep.
Anybody else? Public. Time to speak. Mark Egan, I told you had to give me a speech. I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Motion.
Have a motion second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Have a good evening.